The clock just struck midnight on December 27th, and the Social Security Administration has dropped a bombshell that's going to impact millions of Americans before the new year arrives. If you're counting on that final holiday deposit to land in your account, what I'm about to share could be the difference between celebrating or scrambling during these last days of 2025. Right now, there's critical information spreading across official SSA channels that directly affects when your money hits your bank account, and frankly, the timing couldn't be more crucial. We're talking about confirmed payment schedules for both retirement benefits and SSDI that break from the normal pattern because of how the calendar falls this year. The government has just released the official deposit dates, and here's what makes this urgent. If you don't know exactly which payment group you fall into, you might be checking your account on the wrong day, causing unnecessary stress during what should be a peaceful holiday season. I've spent the last several hours digging through the official SSA bulletins, cross-referencing payment schedules, and breaking down exactly what this midnight update means for your specific situation. Let's get into the facts. Now, before we dive into the specific dates and what this midnight update really means for your wallet, I need you to understand something that the Social Security Administration doesn't always make crystal clear in their official announcements. The way benefits are distributed in this country isn't just some random system where the government sends out checks whenever they feel like it. There's actually a very specific formula based on your birth date, when you first started receiving benefits and what type of benefits you're getting. And when the calendar throws us a curveball like it's doing right now at the end of 2025, with holidays falling on specific days and weekends intersecting with normal payment schedules, everything gets shifted around in ways that can genuinely confuse even people who've been receiving Social Security for decades. Let me walk you through exactly what's happening right now, and I promise you by the end of this video, you're going to know more about your payment schedule than probably 90% of the people calling the SSA hotline this week. So the Social Security Administration operates on what they call a staggered payment schedule, and this system was actually put into place back in 1997. Before that year, everyone who received Social Security got their payment on the third day of every single month, which sounds simple enough, but it created absolute chaos in the banking system. You had millions upon millions of transactions all hitting at exactly the same time. Banks were overwhelmed. And honestly, it was a logistical nightmare that nobody really talks about anymore. So they changed it, and now your payment date depends primarily on what day of the month you were born. Here's how it breaks down in a normal month, and pay close attention because this is foundational to understanding why this holiday period is different. If you were born between the 1st and the 10th of any month, your Social Security payment arrives on the second Wednesday of every month. If your birthday falls between the 11th and the 20th, you get paid on the third Wednesday, and if you were born between the 21st and the 31st, your payment comes on the fourth Wednesday of the month. But here's where it gets interesting, and this is something that trips people up constantly. If you started receiving benefits before May of 1997, or if you're receiving both Social Security and SSI simultaneously, you don't follow that Wednesday schedule at all. Instead, you get your payment on the third day of every month, or if the third falls on a weekend or federal holiday, you get it on the last business day before that. Now, let's talk about what's actually happening with this final holiday deposit that everyone's buzzing about. December 2025 has thrown us some unique circumstances that are affecting when people see their money, and the midnight update that came through from the Social Security Administration is basically their way of confirming the adjusted schedule and making sure people aren't panicking when they check their bank accounts. You see, when we hit the end of the year, especially when it coincides with holidays and weekends, the SSA has to move payments around to ensure that nobody's sitting there without their benefits when they need them most. The government can't process payments on federal holidays, and banks don't post transactions on weekends in the traditional sense, so everything has to be calculated backward from these restrictions. What the midnight confirmation told us is that anyone who was supposed to receive a payment that would normally fall on or after a holiday is going to see that payment deposited early. This isn't the SSA being generous or doing anyone a favor out of the kindness of their hearts. This is actually federal law The government is required to ensure that if your payment date falls on a weekend or a federal holiday, you must receive that payment on the last business day before that weekend or holiday. It's written into the regulations, and they don't have any wiggle room on this. But what makes December 2025 particularly interesting is how the calendar is laid out and where Christmas and New Year's fall in relation to the normal payment schedule. Let's get specific about SSDI for a moment, because disability benefits follow the exact same birth date schedule that I just explained for regular retirement Social Security. There's this misconception out there that SSDI is somehow on a completely different system, and I see this confusion in comments all the time. People think that because their benefit is classified as disability rather than retirement, they're going to get paid on different days, or that different rules apply to them. That's not accurate. If you're receiving SSDI and you were born between the 1st and 10th of the month, you're still getting paid on the second Wednesday. If you were born between the 11th and 20th, it's still the third Wednesday, and so on. The only exception would be if you're also receiving SSI, which is a different program entirely with its own payment schedule. And in that case, you'd be getting your money on the first of the month or the last business day of the previous month, if the first falls on a weekend or holiday. So when we talk about this final holiday deposit, what we're really discussing is the interaction between the normal December payment schedule and the holidays that are interrupting that schedule. Some of you watching this have already received your December payment because you fell into an earlier birth date group. But if you're in that group, that would normally be paid on the fourth Wednesday of December. Or if you're someone who receives benefits on the third of the month, the holidays are affecting when you're actually going to see that money in your account. And this is where the midnight update becomes so important, because it's the official confirmation from the Social Security Administration about exactly when these adjusted payments are going to hit. The reality is that the SSA actually starts processing these payments several days before they appear in your account. When we talk about a payment date of, let's say, December 24th, the Social Security Administration has already initiated that payment at least 2 to 3 business days earlier. The money has left the federal treasury, it's gone to your bank, and your bank is holding it until the official payment date when they're allowed to post it to your account. This is why sometimes you'll hear people say they can see a pending deposit in their bank account before the official payment date. Some banks will show you that the money is there waiting, even though it hasn't been officially released to your available balance yet. Other banks don't show you anything until the exact moment it posts on the official date. Now, I want to address something that causes a tremendous amount of confusion and anxiety every single month, but especially during holiday periods like this. Your payment date and when you actually see the money in your account can sometimes be two different things. And this isn't because the Social Security Administration is playing games or because there's a problem with your payment. It's because of how the banking system works in the United States. If your official payment date is on a Wednesday, but you bank with a smaller credit union or a regional bank, you might not see that deposit post until Thursday morning, or in some cases, even Friday. This doesn't mean your payment is late. This doesn't mean something went wrong. It simply means that your particular financial institution processes ACH deposits on a slightly different schedule than some of the bigger national banks do. The major banks in this country, the ones that everyone knows the names of, they've invested heavily in technology that allows them to post Social Security deposits very quickly, often right at midnight on the official payment date or even slightly before. But smaller institutions might batch process their deposits once a day, maybe early in the morning, maybe midday. And so you're going to see your money appear at a different time. This is completely normal, and it happens every single month. But during the holidays, when people are extra stressed about money and expenses, it feels more significant. If you're watching this video and you're thinking to yourself that your payment seems to arrive at inconsistent times, I can almost guarantee you that it's your bank's processing schedule that's creating that impression, not any inconsistency from Social Security. Let's talk about what you should actually be doing right now to make sure you're prepared for this final holiday deposit. First, and most importantly, you need to know which payment group you belong to based on your birth date. If you don't know this, if you've never paid attention to the pattern before, go look at your birth certificate or any official document that shows what day of the month you were born. Match that up with the schedule I explained earlier. Once you know whether you're in the second, third, or fourth Wednesday group, you can figure out exactly when your payment should arrive. The Social Security Administration has an online calendar that shows all the payment dates for the entire year, and you can find this on the official SSA website. I'm not going to read out a specific URL because websites change and I don't want to send you to a broken link, but if you go to ssa.gov and look for their payment schedule or benefits calendar, you'll find it immediately. Second, make sure that your bank account information is up to date with Social Security. I know this sounds obvious, but you would be shocked at how many people run into problems because they changed banks 6 months ago. They thought they updated everything, but somehow the Social Security Administration still has the old account on file. If you've recently switched banks or if you've opened a new account and you want your benefits to go there instead, you need to log into your My Social Security account online and verify that the correct routing number and account number are in the system. You can also call Social Security to do this, but honestly, the hold times right now are probably going to be extremely long because everyone's calling about these holiday payments. Third, understand that if something does go wrong, if your payment doesn't arrive when you expect it to, you need to give it at least 3 business days before you start panicking. I'm not saying this to be dismissive of legitimate concerns. I'm saying this because the Social Security Administration's official policy is that you should wait 3 business days past your expected payment date before contacting them about a missing payment. The reason for this is exactly what I explained earlier about banking processing times. What looks like a missing payment on Wednesday might just be your bank being a little slower to post the transaction, and by Friday, everything's fine. If 3 business days pass and you still don't have your money, that's when you need to contact Social Security directly, and that's when they'll actually investigate what happened. The midnight update that triggered this whole video was essentially the Social Security Administration putting out official confirmation of the adjusted schedule for these final December payments. They do this every year when holidays affect the calendar, but this year there's been more attention on it because of how much financial pressure people are under. Inflation has hit everyone hard over the past few years, even though it's supposedly coming down now according to the official numbers. The cost of everything from groceries to utilities to prescription medications has gone up dramatically, and for people living on fixed Social Security income, every single dollar matters. When you're operating on a tight budget, knowing exactly when that money is going to arrive isn't just a matter of convenience, it's a matter of being able to pay your bills on time and avoid late fees or overdraft charges. I also want to touch on something that doesn't get talked about enough, which is how Social Security payments interact with other benefits you might be receiving. If you're getting food assistance through SNAP, or if you qualify for any state-level programs for seniors, those programs often have their own payment schedules that may or may not line up with when your Social Security hits. Some states deliberately stagger their assistance programs to avoid having everyone's benefits arrive on the same day, which helps people manage their cash flow throughout the month. But it also means you need to keep track of multiple different payment dates. And during the holidays, when everything's shifted around, it's easy to lose track of what's supposed to come when. For those of you receiving SSDI specifically, I want you to understand that your payment is just as secure and just as reliable as anyone receiving regular retirement Social Security. There's sometimes this underlying anxiety among disability recipients that their benefits are somehow more vulnerable to cuts or delays or problems. And while it's true that disability claims can be difficult to get approved in the first place, once you're in the system and receiving benefits, you're protected by the same federal regulations as everyone else. Your payment schedule follows the same rules. The early payment provisions for holidays apply to you in exactly the same way. And the midnight update that we're discussing affects SSDI recipients just as much as it affects retirees. As we close out 2025 and move into 2026, it's worth remembering that Social Security has been making these payments reliably for decades. The system has its flaws. The application process can be frustrating. The customer service wait times are often ridiculous, and yes, there are ongoing political debates about the long-term funding of the program. But the actual mechanics of getting payments out to people every single month, that part works. The midnight updates and schedule adjustments might seem confusing, but they're actually the system working exactly as it's designed to, making sure that holidays and weekends don't leave people without their benefits when they need them most. So take a deep breath, check your payment schedule, make sure your banking information is current, and trust that your final holiday deposit is on its way.